Good morning. This is October 10th, Saturday morning. This is the 200th consecutive rant. And let me tell you something. It's a crazy world we live in. 13 people have been charged with an alleged domestic terrorism plot to overthrow several state governments. Can you believe that? Not one state government, but several state governments. And to kidnap state officials, including the Michigan Democratic Governor Gretchen Whitmer. Several suspects associated with the militia group called the Wolverine Watchmen were allegedly gathering intel on local law enforcement and training to attack the Michigan Capitol building. What is this going on? How in the world have we gotten to a point where we have a group of people that are actually going to try and kidnap a governor and throw over a state government? Is that insanity? Anyhow, Whitmer thanked the FBI agents for foiling the plot and called out President Trump for giving comfort to those who spread fear and hatred and division. Well, of course, I will bet you that all the governors that these people were going to attack in all the states were basically Democratic states, because the Democrats are too liberal for the rest of the country. They're afraid of the left-wing fanatics. But it's the right-wing fanatics that carry guns around. It's the right-wing fanatics that gather in crowds and say the Jews will not replace us. Several believe that Whitmer was a target for her stricter than average approach to the coronavirus restrictions. And maybe that's true. Sometimes you have to be strict if you want to save people's lives. Anyhow, there has been a nationwide increase in vigilante and militia activity. Are we getting back to revolutionary times now? Is this an act, a constitutional act? We want a well-armed militia? And maybe these militia are widespread because of the other protests that are going on. And there are consumer groups that are worried that the militia might intimidate voters as the election gets closer. Can you imagine a polling place surrounded by right-wing fanatics screeching at the people who go in? People might turn and not vote at all. This is a form of insanity that we're faced with. Now, it was the FBI that recognized these plots and was able to stop it. But can you imagine how this country is going to be with people like this running around, and we are defunding police departments? We are losing police manpower. We can't afford to lose police manpower. We can't afford to defund police departments when we have fanatical groups running loose. Yes, we have protests, and the protesters have a right to protest, and they have a right to protest peacefully, and they can take up any cause they want. But police brutality is basically the absolutely worst possible cause that you can. So I will view this incident as a warning to people. Don't mess with our law enforcement organizations, because they are out there basically to protect us. Yes, there are bad apples here and there, and we have to deal with it. And every business in the world has somebody who doesn't belong there. So let us not create the false narrative that all police are racist and that all police are basically brutal. That is not true. 99.9% of the police are good people, and they have a tough job, a very tough job. So let us not forget that. Let us not forget what freedom of speech means. Doesn't mean that you can yell fire in a crowded movie theater. Doesn't mean that you can do many other things that put people's safety at risk. We don't need these militia groups in this country. You want to have a right-wing organization? That's fine. I don't have a problem with people who believe to the right of me, but that doesn't mean that they need to be armed and they need to wave Confederate flags and they need to spew hatred. You can be conservative and you can be nice, but when you gather together with arms and speak vitriolic language and plan to kidnap government officials, then you've gone too far. You've gone too far. And maybe your rights will be taken away. And then you'll bitch and moan because your rights have been taken away. So this country is in bad shape now. Really, really bad shape. We are floundering. Leadership is virtually absent. We're floundering in the midst of a major pandemic that we have mishandled. And we have mishandled the way we handle these protests. And soon we'll have an election and we'll see if the country gets straightened out or not. But if this isn't a wake-up call to the whole country, this plot to capture government officials, kidnap government officials, if that isn't a wake-up call to this country, then nothing will wake us from this deep slumber that we have been in for the last 4 years. Maybe it's not a slumber. Let's call it a nightmare. Yes, it's a nightmare. Maybe it'll be over and maybe it'll last for another 4 years. So that's my rant for today. 200 in a row. Take care. I'll see you in the morning.